Hey, what's going on, everybody? Tobin here with you. Thanks for checking us on out. If you could, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate that. Watch Tobin and Leroy every single weekday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on the WQAM channel live. And you guys can go, of course, watch the whole show on demand or watch clips. I would appreciate that. That would mean a lot to me. Thank you, everybody, for checking us on out and all the support that you guys give us. Means a lot. I don't know if you guys checked this out, but I was on my drive down, and I saw this podcast, so I fired it up on the old Bluetooth, and it was Tyreek Hill. He was on 810 Sports Radio in Kansas City, and did a sit down with two of his former teammates, and it was good talk from him. I don't know if you got the most juicy stuff out of it as far as a Dolphin fan is concerned. They didn't really ask too many Dolphins questions. They kind of were going to get into the Tua stuff, and then they just kind of backed off, and then they just kind of moved on. The only thing that he got really good at it, Tyreek Hill, as far as Dolphins is concerned, is he discussed learning the offense, and that it was he said the first week of OTAs was a little bit of a struggle learning a new offense, and that his first meeting with Mike McDaniel, he's like, "You ready to go for 2,000?" So that was kind of cool. That was kind of goosey. So I'm not gonna lie, that one tickled my fancy very, very much. But as far as the rest of the podcast, definitely the best part was actually the end, because they were wrapping it up, and Tyreek Hill basically called his shot, and he's like, Chiefs fans, you're getting the deuces. You're getting it when we take on the Chiefs at Arrowhead this year, which is going to be a hell of a storyline. That's definitely going to be. It would be really hard to believe that is not going to be a preseason game this year. I mean, we don't know exactly when that game is going to be. We just know that it's going to be in Kansas City. But I would have a hard time believing that Patrick Mahomes, all the comments, it was such a big story last year. I'd have a hard time believing that they're not going to do that matchup. I really am curious to see when the schedule comes up how many primetime matchups the Dolphins do have, because certainly they kind of upped the ante as the season went on, but I definitely feel like with as much buzz and national talk as they generate, I would feel like the Dolphins are going to garner a lot of national attention and a lot of national games, which can be a burden, can be a curse, because your everything is going to be even more overanalyzed with this team as it is already. And I like the fact that Tyreek Hill is already let's circle this one, point it there, because look, Tyreek Hill does everything with a wink and a smile. Super competitive guy. And I mean, it was amazing in his first season in Miami, but there does have to be, I'm sure as any competitor, there has to be some level of, I want to make it known that I'm still a big deal. And, even in this podcast, Tyreek acknowledged, listen, Mahomes is the dude. I mean, we got Mahomes, Kelsey, and Andy Reid. You could, you don't necessarily, you could basically do it with anybody else. So he knows what a talented situation he left was. But also, the Dolphins are in this spot where, he is more of a leader, I think, on this team, that he was challenged to be in that spot. They did have a lot of big production last year, and I think that he sees his former team win a championship, and you're like, yeah, well, I want to go prove that I'm not only that good, but I'm gonna be meaningful for winning as well. And I think that's always kind of been a stigma for free agency. You go and make the big free agent splash, the big trade, and doesn't necessarily equate. Now, that's been less true. I mean, you look at the Rams, you look at the Buccaneers, you look at even last year with the team not winning, but Philadelphia with what they did with A.J. Brown. So I do feel like that's become less of a stigma, that you just have to do it through the draft. A lot of teams are taking big blockbuster trades or big swings. It used to be a lot more taboo. Oh, don't build your team through free agency. Don't build your team through big trades. You gotta draft everybody. You gotta do it like Seattle did, where everybody is an amazing draft pick and build them up, or you got to do it like the Ravens did, and everyone's got to be in house. I don't think that's, I don't think everybody does it that way anymore. But for Tyreek Hill, certainly there's got to be an element of, hey, I want to take this team to the next level. I want to still put the pressure on him, because that was his method last year. And it was interesting listening to Mike McDaniel talk about this last week, where he was discussing with Mike Silver about, how beneficial he feels like that bullseye Tyreek Hill put on himself / the organization with that support was important because it, first of all, it shows publicly that you have the guy's back. I remember asking Tyreek Hill about this last year at camp, and he was just like, because I didn't find it to be a big deal. I found it surprising that this was such a narrative before. I just knew they were going to take everything that Tua did and run with it. I just found it interesting. I was like, why is everybody finding it such a big deal that Tyreek Hill's supporting his new teammate? It's weird, right? Like, we just had this remember the Trent Sherfield thing that happened this a couple weeks ago, and people were like, oh, how could Trent Sherfield say that? He's going with a real elite quarterback. It's like, it's kind of what you do as a wide receiver. Like that guy is responsible for a lot of your production. Ergo is responsible for a lot of your pay. So I would do anything that I could to harbor that relationship to make myself look better, make myself look good. That's just the working relationship. Like I think that everybody could probably relate to having a good work chemistry, having a good working relationship, especially with somebody that you work directly with. Working with my producers or when I produced, working with my hosts, having good chemistry with that and talking them up and building them up and all that stuff, it just made it better. Now, not trying to, compare myself and my fat ass to the fastest, most athletic person in the league. I'm just saying from a working standpoint, yeah, you can kind of relate to, of course, you want to support your QBs in the most ways possible. But I think on this side of things, I think the thing that's interesting is one, totally okay for Tyreek Hill to be a little bit selfish in the idea of like, yeah, I want revenge on that. This happens all the time. I mean, and in all honesty, a lot of, I don't know this so much in football, but I know like being around the Heat, this is a big thing of like beating your former teams. You remember last year, some guys won't acknowledge revenge games are a thing. Like Jimmy Butler, I remember asking about this and he goes, don't believe in revenge games. And then he walks off the court after beating the Sixers last year and is like, Tobias Harris over me. So, I get it. You don't want to show your hands. And I think with Tyreek Hill, it's cool that he just kind of puts it all out there. Hell yeah, I want to get revenge on the Chiefs. Hell yeah, I want to beat the Chiefs in Kansas City. And, unsurprisingly, as the Chiefs fans were last year, a lot of them were freaking out. Oh, you're the worst. Shut up, Tyreek Hill. Boo, 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 hoo. But what I do think, other than just a revenge standpoint, is much like it did last year, I feel like in a way it kind of ups the ante for the for the Dolphins. I feel like the expectations are ratcheted up this year. McDaniels acknowledged that. They had some of that last year where they were like, oh, we're not afraid to talk Super Bowl around here. But I think that just putting it out there the way that Tyreek Hill did is a really, really interesting thing because he is one of the captains of the team. He is one of the voices of the team. I think he's honestly the public voice of the team. I mean, he comments on everything on social media. Everything Tyreek Hill is either trolling or laughing about or has, some input on, especially in the offseason. I don't know if Chiefs Dolphins will end up being the opening game. Although makes for a captivating one. I think Leroy made a good point today when he was talking about it. He goes, it'd probably be like Chiefs Bengals, Chiefs Bills. That's probably the direction they'll go because the champs usually do open. I think you look at last year's schedule and it kind of just had such a crazy flow to it. And I remember everybody was thinking about how the beginning was going to be the gauntlet and they handled it well. Then you had, of course, the Tua injury that really messed with things. And then you got him back, went on a roll. But then when the true tests, I think everybody came, that was when, the big slippage happened. So yeah, that schedule creation can be a thing. It can matter. And it doesn't look like an easy one this year for sure. At least, on paper, it doesn't look like an easy one so far. But I think that Tyreek Hill putting that bullseye in there, I like it. I like that about him. I like the fact that he is always trying to up the ante and he's always trying to make things spotlighted and highlighted for his team because, that's the way he has success, man. I think that sometimes people putting pressure on themselves or upping the ante themselves or writing their mouths writing big checks that they got to go cash. I think in a lot of ways that stuff can be healthy and productive. I really do. Some people get scared of it. Some people like to ride in the wave of no distractions or none of that stuff. I mean, honestly, like I was saying this, I would want the Dolphins on Hard Knocks this year. I know that they aren't one of the eligible teams and nobody volunteers for Hard Knocks, so it's not going to happen. But I would love to see a reality show of Tyreek Hill and Jalen Ramsey and all of that stuff. Mike McDaniel, my God, who wouldn't want to? Who wouldn't want to? Like, I know they did that last year. They did the in season. Either one, I think, would just be tremendous entertainment. But a lot of people love to live in the land of football, no distractions, no nothing. That's not how old Tobes likes it. Old Tobes likes distractions. He likes headlines. He likes a little bit of a little flamboyance to go with his team. That's what was fun with last year. That's why I think a lot of people dug the Dolphins on a national level too. But good for Tyreek Hill, just putting that line in the sand right away against his former club.